Good morning to you all. January 22nd, day after inauguration here on the John Frederick Show. Common sense for the Commonwealth. We're broadcasting from the nation's capital, which is now starting to clear out from the Million People Mall March yesterday. 1 million people estimated showing up on the mall to watch President Obama take his second oath of office and the inaugural parade and all the parties tonight. Last night, also a party tonight. Traffic all over the place. But starting today, the buses will be rolling back out of the city, and things will clear up a little bit. I'd probably stay off the streets till about 12 o'clock. Now, there is one more big party tonight.
That's right. Another inauguration party.
We're still waiting, hoping against hope that we will get the last-minute invitation to the ball. Steve Ray or I, or maybe Ken Johnson will get it in Virginia Beach. You never know.
The unfortunate thing is with all the cutbacks at the U.S. Postal Service, we'll probably get it on Wednesday for the Tuesday party. Yeah,
we wouldn't get it anyway. Just to shout out Kenny Johnson there in Virginia Beach. Kenny, if you happen to get invited to President Obama's last inaugural ball tonight from Virginia Beach, text us. We'll take your ticket and we'll go, although the odds on that are better than President Obama cutting entitlements. 0.
I have a great event that we should attend.
What's that, Steve?
It's the Republican National Committee's Winter Meetings in Charlotte.
Charlotte, only a stone's throw away.
Exactly.
6-hour drive. Exactly. We'll have to get invited there. We'll have to weasel our way in.
I happen to know somebody who may be associated with
a bigwig?
Oh, yeah.
A honcho?
If you count the co-chair of the RNC, Sharon who is our guest now, I think we may have an in.
Good segue, and it's always good. Hey, you know what? One thing about here on the John Frederick Show, we go straight to the top. Sharon Day, co-chair of Republican National Committee. Great to have you with us as you're about to start your I guess, mid-semester meeting in Charlotte. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, John? Thank you for having me on.
Always a pleasure to have you on. A lot of hand-wringing going on right now amongst some grassroots Republicans over the brand. Certainly the defeat in November has some people concerned. What is your number one priority for this meeting in Charlotte? What do you want to get accomplished over the next several days?
Well, the annual meeting, of course, is when we get together and discuss again our future and the things we do together. And probably one of the most important things I would say to Ryan, to myself, and to our Secretary and Treasury is the reelection of our officers at this meeting. And so our Chairman, Ryan Priebus, and myself, and Tony Parker, Dimitri DeMonte, our Secretary, we're all up for reelection. And so that will happen on Friday. So we have that to deal with and to take care of, and which is important to the party structure. But then also we want to talk about the things that we did right. We want to talk about the things that we should have done better, and to look at our election successes as we come up to 2014. Because as you know, we have a lot of governors that we want to make sure come back. Some great Republican governors, and to be honest, the Republican governors have led the way around the state. Look in your own state, my own state in Florida here. Rick Scott has done an unbelievable job, and so they're leading the way of fiscal responsibility. And we hope as these Republican governors get reelected, and as we go forward, getting ready for 2014, that we show that in the states that have Republican governors, they do much better physically. They do much better physically. They do much better in their laws and their legislation. And so we have those things to make sure that we have everything in place to go forward and have the election successes we want to have in 2014. And that's going to be reevaluating and talking about, what we did right and what we should have done better.
Now, Chairwoman Day, there's been some talk in Republican circles about possibly changing the primary system, having some states move up, some states move back. There's been some talk of more of a regionalized primary. When from our vantage point, we covered it in depth. When we look at the primary process, I don't think there was a problem with it. My candidate in the primaries didn't win, but there was some concern that the eventual nominee had so much money that they were almost able to buy the nomination. Is that a consensus thought, and is there going to be any talk to how that might be prevented in the future?
Well, I think we'll probably talk about the primary, again, the primary system, because we've tried. We thought the last time we had a good program set in place. And I think it was a good program, to be honest with you. It did give the opportunity for, as you know, some of the, individuals that didn't have a lot of funds to stay in there quite a bit through the other situations. So, but everybody wants the perfect solution to a primary system, and democracy, isn't pretty. It just is. You can't find the right answers to do it. There really isn't an exact right primary system, because sometimes it depends on the election cycle. And so for us, some people looked at, what we did and how we went through it, the process of it, and it didn't work. It did work. I think it worked fine. It was, it's just a hard thing to come up with. But I think more importantly, what we're going to look at, and I think that the members want to talk about, is our growth opportunity program that we're looking at. And that is to look at every single issue that we can, and to go through the process, and to bring in volunteers. We're actually reached out to every single volunteer that signed up for our election campaigns around the state. We went to our state parties. We went to everybody that was on the ground that led a victory office or was a key player in a victory office. And we set aside this growth opportunity project and put 5 chairmen in, which are some great individuals that we look at. You may know about or not, but it's we put in place Henry Barber as our national committee man from Mississippi. Fondanetis, our national committee woman. Glenn McCall from South Carolina. Sally Bradshaw from right here in Florida, who's the veteran senior strategist for Jeb Bush. And Harry Flesher is heading that up. And they've been having meetings and reaching out to people, and we've got it on the website. If you were on the ground, we want you to tell us what worked and what didn't work. But we're just going to get in the weeds. We're going to look, and we're going to build a 2-year plan. We typically have a 2-year plan every cycle. That's what we're going to do, but we're not going to just do that this time. As a team, we're going to lay out a 2-year plan, a 4-year plan, a 6-year plan. We know that we have to do some work to do things right. We did a lot of things good, but obviously not good enough because we didn't win the big one.
Well, that's true. In our view, it was very little to do with the RNC and your chairman and yourself, and very much to do with the candidate that we thought was the issue from day one, because in our view, at the end of the day, Mitt Romney didn't stand for anything. Now, I want to get off that and just final follow-up on the primary system. There's been some talk, Chairwoman Day, about, well, there were too many debates, and so why don't we get the RNC to do a better job of managing these debates. Now, there's other people on the grassroots side like us that say, the debates are the only opportunity to really get the candidates out there so that the financial advantage does not overshadow everything else. How do you weigh in on that?
Well, in the debates, I think, again, the debate system, the real problem with, the debate system is that we don't control the candidates. And so I went to, I think, 20 of the darn things, and sometimes they were wonderful, and you really had a fabulous time. The other times it was like watching, your family members fight and just like cringe. But in the end, we're not going to change that, because the candidates have to say when they've had enough.
Right.
And I would say in the debate process, we actually saw some. I looked at it. We had an opportunity to hear Rick Santorum, which we wouldn't have heard.
That's right.
His voice is loud. Had it been a shorter cycle, had it been 4 debates or 5 debates, and that gave him the opportunity to get to know him. Newt Gingrich, I think, kept the country in a place. Some of his comments to say, "Let's get real, people." So. When you look at it, we can't control the debates because they're going to go straight to the candidates. And when the candidates say they've had enough and say no, they're going to say they've had enough and say no, and just start punishing states and punishing candidates and doing that type of thing. I don't think that's the right answer. I mean, there was a lot of debates, but when you're trying to take on an incumbent, I think you need a lot of opportunities to hear from from all the possible candidates.
I think you absolutely nailed that. We couldn't agree more.
The co-chairman of the RNC, Sharon Day, who is headed to Charlotte for the winter meetings tomorrow. 2 issues that I would point up that may be a factor here. The cost of the adjustment in the last convention from the effects of Tropical Storm Isaac, and the fact that we did not have a winner at the top of the ticket. How have those 2 issues affected the financial health of the RNC?
Well, the RNC financially, as you know, we came in at a place 2 years ago where we were in debt and we had to dig our way out. And I'm very pleased to say that at the end of the day, we not only paid off the $24 million in debt we had, we fully funded the primary, the amount that we could fund to the presidential campaign. We funded victory offices all across the country in joint operations. And we had $3.3 million left over in the bank after that. So we're doing well. The donors we're still continuing to do donor meetings to bring money in, and they're not upset with us. They want to rebuild. They're looking for a game plan, our major donors, and that's exactly what we're doing. So they understand what Reince and I and the committee came in with, and what we were able to do in the 2 years, and to live up to our commitments to our state parties, to our state committees, and to the presidential candidate, and still, even after that, to have done it in such a fiscal manner that we were also able to have some cash in the bank to go forward.
Back in September at the Republican National Convention, the first full day of the convention was heavy with female speakers hitting a lot of really good bread and butter issues. How are you approaching the idea that the tent needs to get bigger?
Oh, I think that's one of the key issues that we're looking at, in our growth opportunity project as well. We understand that we do have to do that. Obviously, the numbers show that we have to do better than what we did. And we understood that going in and into the election and trying to do it. But I think the problem is that when you have a president that will say anything to get elected to any group that will divide, and I'm not saying that we don't need to do better, please. I understand that we do, but when you have someone that says this to women, and you have this that says this to one group and that to another group, and makes promises and that he has no intention to keep. It's a hard way to win and to campaign against, because we're trying to be honest and truthful. There's serious problems that we need to deal with in this country, and simply with a sign of your pen, you make a rule here and a rule there to get to buy some votes is not the way. I think it spoke volumes, our first night campaign and theirs, when you looked at the women that we had. I mean, we had unbelievable, dynamic women that spoke. You had Kelly Ayotte, Catherine Morris Rogers. You just went through the list of the women we had. Condoleezza Rice. I mean, if you just looked at the people that were there speaking, our women, the things they talked about, they were small business owners, again, minority women, governors with Nikki Haley and Governor Martinez, and you looked at the way that the women, that things that they talked about, where they came from, the parts of life that they brought to the table, and we talked about substance of issues and strong women, strong, proud, standing women, and then you looked at theirs. And the first night that I watched of the Democrat convention, and I looked at what's her name, Sandra Fluke, I guess it was, yeah, talking about contraceptives and the need, Republicans, were against contraceptives, and you had that woman from this new senator from Massachusetts up there talking about how America has failed you. If you feel like America's let you down, it has, blaming America for everything. And you looked at their women. I left, I actually had a radio talk show afterwards, and I was depressed afterwards. I said, oh my God, if this is really the way women feel, that we can't do it on our own.
I think somebody had pulled out the 1968 playbook for them and slipped it in where the more modern one should have been.
I know. I'm like listening to these women whine, and I'm going like, oh, wait a minute. I just want government to stay out of my way. I just want the government to let me do what I know that I can do on my own. I don't need anything from them but a good government. I don't need all this stuff. And I thought, gosh, our women were so strong and so prideful and so accomplished, and these whiny women, it was
whiny
like,
babies.
Oh my God.
You know what? And Senator Warren from Massachusetts, she's still up there whining. It's just like the wine machine. It doesn't ever stop. And she's even how she's a college professor in Harvard's beyond me. How you could take her class? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I could sit through 13 weeks of that for anything. Morton Blackwell, in Virginia, Republican National Committee man, he's calling for the RNC at this meeting to undo some of the rule changes made at the 2012 convention in Tampa that we on this show have criticized roundly. Where do you think that's headed?
Well, I don't know if we can, is the problem. I don't know that if we can, and at this meeting it would be hard because I don't know that if everybody was publicly notified. I'm not sure because I don't handle the legal side of it. But again, as we do in all things, we're going to look at it and see what, again, the committee will, as representatives across the country, to look at it and see what we can and we can't. I think there were a couple of issues on a couple of rules that we've looked at, that we talked about. I think we're trying to fix some things, but I don't know that if it's my understanding that they want to take the rules back to what they were before the convention.
Right.
I don't know if that's a possibility, to be honest with you. There was a lot of time spent at the convention with these rules, and a lot of people gave a lot of time looking at them, and there were I think 5 days that people were there on the Rules Committee. But I know that we're looking at it, and the chairman and I've talked about it, and we're going to do what the committee wants to do and what members want to do. So I think it's something that we are looking at, how those things get done. I'm not quite sure, again, with it legally, how we would get it done and how the members can reach out and what their thoughts are. But at this meeting, we will find out from them. I can guarantee you, because we find out what they're thinking about everything. And so this is never been a quiet group, and we're not a group of individuals. And as you know, Borton Blackwell, and I do well. So he's a great guy, a great representative for Virginia, and good friend. And when you look at it, he doesn't go quietly not in the night, nor do 157 other members just like him.
Chairwoman Day, if I could sum up your answer very quickly here, it sounds like the Rules Committee is going to give Morton Blackwell, Virginia's Republican National Committee man, his say, his due, as he's trying to unravel the Boston Massacre-inspired changes that went down in Tampa. That last segment was my editorial, by the way.
Okay, well, we're going to get him. What we're going to do is that we will listen and try to see how we, again, make the party the best representative that we can with the best set of rules. So we will, of course, look at it, whether it can be done or not and how it can be done. Thank God I'm not the legal part of the operation, that I don't have to deal with that. But definitely we will, again, he will have an opportunity to speak his mind, as he always does. Okay,
we want to thank you for joining us here on the John Frederick Show. Republican National Committee co-chair, Chairwoman Sharon Day, as they prepare for their Charlotte winter meetings that, by the way, start tomorrow. Chairwoman Day, thank you for your time and for your candor here on the John Frederick Show. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, John. You take care, and if you guys want to come to North Carolina, come see us. We'll gladly welcome you. Okay, we'll try to figure it out, and I might have to call your staff member up to set us up down there. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.